I got a murder mystery that I want to talk about, kind of an update to an earlier murder mystery that I discussed in a previous video, and also some of the things that just make me crazy when I'm doing family history. And if you have examples like this or examples of something that makes you crazy when you're doing family history, let me know in the comments, because this one is going to make me...
Use your words.
Yeah, it's just one of those I'm probably never going to figure out. First thing I want to talk about, now, this is a video I did last year, Shocking Discoveries from Family History, where I talk about a Giuseppe Sacco, because what I was doing, I was researching. So this is his death certificate, Joseph Sacco's death certificate. Now, this came up because I was researching two members of Mia Familia, and that is Cesare Sacco and his wife, Angela Menino. Now, they are related to me, and doesn't mean that the ones on this death certificate are the same people. I don't know yet. Could be, but I know that they did immigrate to the United States. And the fact that the names are not very common. I mean, Caesar and Angela. Angela's Caesar is definitely not a common name. And so this was the one that I found. It was from February 22nd, 1918, and that he died similar to another Caesar, where it was shock due to knife wounds on entire body. So he died on his way to the hospital. It wasn't until I was actually doing the video right here that it dawned on me that he had multiple stab wounds over his entire body, and his father's name was Caesar. So he died in a similar way for someone that I'm also related to, a bit more distantly than the Saccos, but Salvador Maranzano, the one I did a video a couple of videos ago, where he basically was a student of Roman history and set the mafia up in a similar fashion, kind of had a fascination with Caesar, and he went out the same way, knife wounds over the entire body. Well, then he was shot. I was doing some more research. This is one of those mysteries that I've got to find. I have to know what the story is. I got to get more information. Now, unfortunately, like we see here, this is happening in a little town, New Eagle, in Washington County, Pennsylvania. A little tiny. It's not happening in Brooklyn or Philly, where we'd have more information. So I very little information. I mean, I do have on here his brother's name is Tony, but given the manner of death that Joe suffered, it was no surprise that he was probably connected and big. I mean, bigly.
Big league.
So this is what I found, and there's not much because it is such a small town. And it happened in 1918. So I apologize for how small this is. I didn't get a very good picture of it, but it is a newspaper clipping from 1918. It's one of, I think, maybe two regarding this particular murder. And this was really, really interesting. And again, this sheds a lot of light, I think, on Joe Sacco's life and what probably led to his demise. Because that is not, I mean, having a bunch of guys stab you like that, 5 or 6 guys stabbing a man in broad daylight.
Yes, well, when I see 5 weirdos dressed in togas stabbing a guy in the middle of the park in full view of 100 people, I shoot the bastards. That's my policy.
That was a Shakespeare in the Park production of Julius Caesar, you moron. You killed 5 actors.
So, all right, state police unearthed young arsenal and ammunition. And they're not kidding. It was an arsenal. This is some great writing here. This should have been like the lead story. This is great. I guess the reporter was figuring this is the only shot that he's going to have. So we better make it count, and maybe he will be editor someday, or. While making an investigation of the murder of Joe Sacco at Webster Thursday night, the local state police arrested 2 of the boarders in the boarding house in which Sacco resided. They arrested Frank DeLuco and Ben Lapata, who were unnaturalized citizens who had in their possession, I love this, this is great, had in their possession enough firearms to make it interesting for the Kaiser. Nice. Remember, this is 1918. This is right during not only the plague, but right after World War I. There were shotguns, rifles, revolvers, and plenty of ammunition.
Is that it?
It's like disarming Germany.
All this was confiscated by the police, who took the two before the justice of the peace. They got a $25 fine for having an arsenal that the Kaiser would have been interested in. These were not small-time hoods. If they had an arsenal that would have gotten the interest of the Kaiser, this is some... So, again, speculation. This was never solved. Maybe I was too limited on my resources, that there are more newspaper clippings about this and more articles. Maybe there was a trial. I don't know. I hope to find more information. But this gives us some more context into the murder of Joe Sacco. And he was probably running with some pretty bad people. So he probably wasn't a choir boy. Okay. He probably was he probably was connected.
Like the mafia. Yeah, like the mafia.
Also, what was interesting here, and it not necessarily a murder mystery, but Sacco was not the only murder at this time in this rural area, more rural area of Pennsylvania in the first few months of 1918. No, what I was able to find, and this makes it. Look at this headline. What makes it more difficult here is the fact that the one that they put on trial for the murder of another Sacco, they keep spelling his name different in each article. I got like 3 other articles, and his name is spelled different every single time. Gravel Kurzel. So we could be certain of one thing. Gravel was not Sicilian. So, but this was a Louis Sacco who was murdered maybe a few months after Joe Sacco. I have no idea if they're connected or not. Just one of those things that get into my head. I got to find out. So what happened was this Gravel and another gunman opened fire on Louis Sacco as he was a passenger in someone's car. And you can see here, show heart of murdered man in big trial. Whoa. And I'll give you a spoiler here. Gravel Kurzel was convicted of this murder. What they did was the prosecutors brought the murder victim, Louis Sacco, they brought his heart into the court for the trial. They took his heart into the trial. The heart had been removed from the body of Sacco by Coroner Norris at the time of the post-mortem examination. When the heart was produced, this is a shock, right? When the heart was produced, the aged father of Sacco was forced to leave the courtroom. Yeah, you think? It's bad enough the man's son was gunned down gangland style. They took his heart and brought it in a jar into it says a gruesome object. Yeah, you think? Yeah, there's an understatement. Maybe they should have notified the father that they were going to do something so gruesome. I don't know. That seems to be, you would want something like that. Maybe not cause another death, Apparently it had an effect on the jury. Maybe that was one of the things. I don't know. But that was something I did not expect to find when I was doing my investigation into the murder of Joe Sacco. Now, the other thing I want to talk about that drives me crazy, in addition to these murder mysteries where I can't find, I might not know what the circumstances were, what led to him being killed, who was he running with. But there are other things in family history that I'll find. And I know there's a story. I know that there's a story there. There's a story. Something happened, and not knowing makes me crazy. And I'm hoping that, at least with this particular mystery, I'm going to find out. So I was going through the death records, as you do when you do family history, right? Atti de Morte. And this particular collection is from 1925, Carini, Sicilia, where, of course, Mia Familia from. And so I started over here, and I'm going to blow this up. We have Giovanni Mazzamino. So that's what gets my attention, Mazzamino, because I know I got Mazzamino Cugini. I also had a Mazzamino live down the street from me in Selden. So I'm going to see what I can do about finding out if Jimmy's family was, in fact, from Carini also. Very slim chance, but that would be really cool. So, again, one of those things that I don't know yet that makes me crazy. So I found Giovanni Mazzamino. He was already on my tree. but I was able to fill in some other details. I don't believe I had his wife, which is nice because they have his parents, of course, Giuseppe and Vita Passante. And this is really cool. So I'll make sure we can all see this. Sposa de Cardinale Francesca. And here, Fu Giacomo. So they give her father's name. So so if you have the records to look that up, you have a pretty good idea. If you find a Francesca Cardinale married to Giovanni Mazzamino, the father's going to be Giacomo. So that really helps. So I had him on my tree, of course. Yeah, there's the parents, Giuseppe Mazzamino and Vita Passante. And there, of course, is Giovanni and Francesca Cardinale. I was able to fill in the children and the grandchildren. And so cool, I have pictures, I have yearbook pictures of Francis Mazzamino and Jack Mazzamino. And I'm looking to get in contact with their children and grandchildren so that maybe they can shed some light on this mystery that I'm going to show you. Now, there are two death records per page. And I go up to the top and I see another Mazzamino, Antonina Mazzamino. She's 64, and this other one is 63. So, of course, the attention, my attention's at full, and so I see right here, Giuseppe. The parents are Giuseppe and Vita Passante. So it turns out they are brother and sister. I had Antonia on my tree already. She's right there. And I know it's the right one because the parents, Giuseppe and Vita Passante. So now I'm really there. Wow. So we can see here that Sposa de Anello Salvatore fu Matteo. So a Salvador Anello is her husband, married to and his father is Matteo. And I had her on my tree, but I did not have Salvador. I didn't know she was married. So I was able to fill that in. And I know there's a spoiler alert here. Again, this is happening in 1925. We've got a brother and sister that are dying within the same week. So something's going on. There's a story here. Something is happening. If it was 1918, I would be pretty certain that even though these records, which are as good as these are, we got some good ones in the Palermo province. As good as they are, they don't have the cause of death. So again, it's 1925, January of 1925. If it was 1918, it would be we could have 95% certainty it was the plague that got him. So I got to figure out, so it's already driving me crazy. Then I go to the next page. Salvador Anello. Salvador Anello, married to Antonina Mazzamino. There's my spoiler. You already know. I didn't at the time. This was so surprised, so I had to check. Yep, his father is Matteo, and of course the spouse is Antonina Mazzamino. So I got that. So he died. So now I got three people dying: brother and sister, and the husband, all dying in the same week. What? I got to know. I have to know what is going on here. I need to know why they are all dying, within the same week. My first instinct, I'm going for a car accident. It was a car accident. That seems to me to be the most logical explanation, but I have no idea. No idea. All I know is they all died on the same week at the end of January 1925. And it's going to make me crazy till I find out. So all I could do was find that they had a child, Matteo. Again, this is because of the naming tradition in Europe, your name for your grandfather. And so Salvador's father is Matteo, and that's why their firstborn is named Matteo. So I'm going to do what I can to find and connect with their great-grandchildren to see if they know and can shed some light on why did these three people die? Brother and sister and her husband. Why did they die in the same week? If you've ever encountered something like that, let me know in the comments. I'd like to hear that because I can't be the only one that has these, by going through records finding something like this. I doubt I'm the only one. I'm sure there's a lot of stories out there, and I'm really interested to hear that. That's going to do it for this particular video. Some murder mystery, and this mysterious, unknown triple death, all within deaths within a. I'll do what I can to find out. If I find any information, I will do an update. And so, hey, thanks for watching. And now,
Now go home and get your fucking shine box.